Hello everybody, it's Rama, and I am here today. What I'm working on is my Diva Delight project for July. And what I want to focus on, since I'm doing my ocean sea themed journals, I wanted to stick with that theme and just kind of push myself, challenge myself a little bit to play with some different materials to add interest and texture to my tags. So what I did so far, I'm starting with these tags that this was a Dunkin' Donuts box and I just put a backing on it. And I was spraying, what was I spraying? I was spraying some stuff. So this is just, you know, my from my oxide sprays, and this was just what it ended up looking like. So I cut it up into some tags, and these are what I'm using for my backgrounds. So what I did so far, I have this, well, I only have pieces of it now. It's called the Sea of Dreams. I will put the link for it. This is, let me see if I have any more pieces here, but the images that I'm using, this is the kit that I used. Here's some more pieces. So I'm using this kit, and I also got some quotes to use. And I can't remember where I purchased this from, but I will find them. I'll put all the links like I always do in my video description. So that's what I'm working with. And what I did so far, I just got a wire coil thingy. And so I made some coils, and I really didn't, how in the world am I going to use these? So I put one here, kind of wrapped it around my tag, and I like that. I also used some netting here, and I kind of, I sprayed this white because it was green, I think. Yes, I have a piece over here. This one, the quote here, it says, "He held her like a seashell and listened to her heart." So I shaped this like a heart. I'm not sure that I like that. It might be a little too bulky, but I'm gonna leave it for now. I like to just leave things and then I revisit it the next day and see what I think with fresh eyes. So those, this one I did for a challenge in Junk Journal Divas group. And the challenge was a key, something from nature, which is my shell, a song, so I put "Come Sail Away," and what else was it? Oh, woven, something woven. So I put the fabric here. So I've got the fabric here. I kind of just used, so if you know, when you have a piece of sari silk and you if you rip it in half and you get all those threads, that's what this is. It's kind of like shredded up fabric that I put on this one. And then this one, this is kind of fun. I just put a bunch of, let me see if I have any more here. Yeah, I've got the string, and I just bunched some underneath here, and I put a piece of vellum on top of it with I put a stamp and this quote on top here. So that's kind of fun. I haven't done anything really extra to them. I got some frosted crystal translucent embossing powder, and I wanted to try to, I don't know, I'm gonna play with this. So I'm gonna play with this and who knows what else. I've got some things here. I've got my, this contractor tape stuff. I don't know exactly what it is. I like to use this as a stencil for some texture paste or just whatever. And then it's cool to just use afterwards too. I also have some So this is the paper that you can wrap around your trees to protect it from frost and whatnot. But this is kind of cool stuff for texture. So I just kind of looked around and I grabbed a few things. I've got different, like, you know, strings. I have some embossing papers, just some different things here to play with. So I don't get too overwhelmed, but I have some things right here at my desk to kind of play with. And I do have more coils. I was kind of playing around with this idea to make it look like a wave. Do, you know, something like that. And I guess I could stitch it down, or I was looking for my E6000 glue and I cannot find it right now because my room is a bit of a mess. So we're just going to play around a little bit and see what we come up with. Before I get started on the new tags, I wanted to just show these printables because I love them. So these are the images that I was working with to make the tags that I just showed. And in the background, you can see the tags without anything on them. And that was my base that I used, which was the Dunkin' Donuts box. And the color is just oxide sprays that I was using to spray different things. So I was going through my stencils to see what I had that I could use, and I found this one kind of looks like a wave. So I'm going to put some of the Tim Holtz Crackle paste with this stencil on a couple of tags and play around with that. If you want to use this idea with a stencil, I have a really great recipe for texture paste that was from Lori Marie Jenkins, and I love it. I've actually never purchased or bought texture paste because it works so well. The recipe for that is 1 cup of baby powder or any kind of powder you have, a half a cup of gesso, and a half a cup of Mod Podge, or you can use Elmer's School Glue. I've used that and it works fine. And here I am when the texture paste is still, the crackle paste is still wet. I'm trying out some sprays on it, but I don't really like it. I actually prefer, after it dries, I prefer the just the white color. So now I'm going to play with some of these tags. I'm going to play around with different backgrounds, different textures. And on this one, I'm using some paper towel. I'm just adding some more color to it. Now I glue this down, but I forgot to separate the plies of paper towel. So you'll see that once I try to glue it on, I realize this because it starts to separate, and then I took off the top layer. So don't forget to separate if you try this technique. And for those of you who don't know the Scotch tape trick, you can just take a piece of tape, press one end down on your paper towel or your napkin, and when you rip it up, it will pull up one of the layers and take the napkin, the plies apart, or your paper towel. It makes it much easier. So you can see I'm just adding a layer of glue on top since it's separated now. And here I'm actually using that technique. I just pulled apart a napkin, and I'm going to use this part of the napkin. It sort of reminds me of an underwater seaweed or something. For this next one, this was one of my favorites. I'm using this, it's a really thin piece of lace. It sort of reminds me of cheesecloth, the way that it comes apart and tears. So I'm going to test this out and glue this on. And now I'm just playing around with some homemade paper. You know, it's got that really great texture. And so I'm just using some different papers and adding those for my backgrounds. And I think I do that for 2 of the tags. This is the paper that I showed. I don't even know what you call it, but it's the stuff that you can wrap around trees to protect your trees. And I just thought it had really great texture. So I am using my hole punch and I just punched some holes in it for some added interest. I'm really just playing around here and see what happens. And this was really the whole idea for my July Diva Delight project, is to just get people to think about, look around and see what do you have in your stash and around your house that you can play with and just see how it adds texture. This is one of my favorite things, is just exploring and playing around with, you know, the things that I have in different mediums. So just have fun in the process and exploring, and share the ideas and what you come up with, what you like and what you don't like. That's the whole thing. Here I'm using my Art Alchemy Wax, and I love this color. Every time I try to apply the wax with a brush, I end up using my finger. I just like using my finger better, so that's what I resort to eventually here. But just playing around with different colors. This is a silver one, just adds a little bit of shine. And now I'm playing around with gesso, and I love using gesso, number one, for the color. I like that it's kind of highlighting, you know, the ripple effect of this paper. And I also like to go around the edges of things because it just sort of softens the line, the edges, and to blend your backgrounds. And I apologize for my voice in this video. I'm having a bit of, I don't know, froggy throat here today. Allergies are kicking in high effect. Now I have some more sprays that I'm using, and this is usually what I do. I just play and add layer after layer until I achieve an outcome that I like. I really love these tags a lot that I use the paste on, the Crackle paste, but it's crackling to the point where it's starting to come off. So I put a layer of Mod Podge on top of it to sort of seal it. And I also go over my other tags with a layer of Mod Podge also, just to sort of seal them, since I was using the oxide sprays. And here what I'm showing you, I have tracing paper that it was dyed, tea dyed, and then I just sort of splattered and sprayed some oxides on it. and dried it. So now I'm just going to crumble it up so that I have that texture and the creases everywhere. And I'm using heavy cardstock craft paper as my base, and I'm going to glue these down. I'm just using my Distress ink pads here to add a little bit more color. And I did really like using these once they were dried. I liked using these for the backgrounds. I love that sort of rubbery feeling of when you put Mod Podge on top of things. Okay, so I'm back. I have all my stuff that dried here. So make sure my stuff doesn't fall. So I've got these tags with that texture. This is the one with the lace. And then this stuff, I guess this is still a little gooey, but it's not coming off on my fingers or anything. And this is the paper towel. And the other one with the holes that I punched. And then I'm really liking these with the Crackle paste. I think I might do more with maybe a different stencil, or I don't know, try something else out. And here's the other one. So now that these are done, oh, and then I also have, so these are my two papers, and these are still like you can kind of see the glue under there. I mean, they're dry, but not underneath, not 100%. So I'm going to give them a little bit longer, but you can see this is the one that I went over it with, what did I use? I used brushed corduroy, and then this one I did not. I added a little extra color, but I just wanted to see what the difference was, and yeah, I do like this better, but I go back in and I add more when it's all dry anyway, so no big deal. Moving right along, I think I'm going to start, let's see, let's take some of these guys, and I'm gonna try, I like the brushed corduroy. It has kind of that yellowish tint to it. So I'm going to try that. And I just rub it over top. Like that. And I'm gonna just let that dry a bit. So let's see here. I was kind of thinking when I added these that it could be like an underwater, under the sea scene, you know, and maybe this could be coral or rock or something. Okay, so see how that just really makes things pop and just adds to the dimension. I love doing this technique with embossed papers too. It's fantastic. Okay. And then this one with the lace. I like that. That's pretty. Okay. Then, so I did try to spray some inks on here, and it didn't do all that much. So let me just see Yeah, this is better. See, they're just sort of grunge it up a little. Rub over there. Yes, I like that. Let's do this one on top of blue. Okay. All right. So I've got the backgrounds here. I was sort of thinking that with these I would add a fish or something. So I'm going to print some more cutouts that I can use that are small enough for these tags. And then I'll be back. So I want to just see what this looks like with, yeah, that's fabulous. I love this. Okay, so that's one of them. Let me take, I want to try to add a little bit of something different and see what happens. So let me do some in the darker areas maybe. Okay, yeah, that definitely makes darker. Just do a couple swirls here. There, that's ready. I like it. So I want to do whale, fish, and a shell. And I stamped some tissue paper that I'm going to use. So let's see which tags I want to use here. I want to add these words to my background. So I'm taking my stamped words from the tissue paper, and if you go around them with just water on a brush, you can tear it apart easily rather than cutting it, and then you don't see the edges. And here I'm just using Mod Podge, just like I would decoupaging with a napkin. And you'll see in the final product, it just blends right in with the backgrounds, but you can still see the text a little bit. And like I said, I just keep layering and layering. So here I'm just going in with my finger and a little bit of gesso. For this tag, I want this opened up clam, and it has a little pearl in it. I want it to look like it's sitting on a rock down in the ocean. So I had to cut some of that paper up to, you know, put the shell behind it a little bit. I'm just gluing it back down. And then I remembered that I have these stick-ons that look like an oyster, so that was perfect to go inside. And now I'm doing the same thing with, well, I guess this is the oyster shell. The other one was a clam. I snipped off a piece of this. It's like fuzzy yarn, but it's on a wire. And so it's really nice to play with because you can bend it. And putting a little piece of that on, just to add a little bit of shimmer and add my sentiment, and then this one is finished. And next I'm moving on to, this was the hardest one to figure out what to do with this background, but I ended up putting a seahorse on this one. I felt like this needed something else, so I just cut a piece of a seashell and added that to the background. And now I'm moving on to the one with all my fish. And this is the tag. You can't really see in the picture here, but this is the tag that has the fish, the word that was stamped onto my tissue paper. Now I'm just playing around with this dolphin, and it worked out great because I cut it in half and I used half of it with the tail on one tag, and I used the head, the top part of it, on another tag. And you can see I went over those wave swirls because they were dark. I just preferred them being the lighter color. This one actually turns out to be one of my favorites that I did. I love the boats and the waves in the background and all the texture. Now I'm just going to add some fuzzy yarn to make it look like it's water, some waves going on underneath there. This was kind of hard to get it to stick because, you know, you get the glue on your fingers and then you have the yarn sticking to your fingers, but I got it. This is a piece of the contractor tape with the holes in it, and I just wanted to add a little something else to this tag, so that's what I'm using here. And my last one, I am putting the seagull on. And now I'm just going around the edges of all my tags, and they're pretty much finished up here. I went around the edges of all my tags and did some sewing, and I also added some ribbon at the top. So here I'm just sort of showing you some of the finished products that I have here. See there, you can see the fish and how it blends in with the backgrounds with that tissue paper. That's another one with the tissue paper that says sea. And then I put the shell on the background of this one. Now I'm moving on to the bases with the tracing paper that I crumbled. And this is a little trick if you are making tags, to fold the top over and you can snip off both corners at the same time. Okay, so I'm back with my tags, and these are the ones that I showed previously. I'm probably going to go through and add some little dangles and just little things like the shells. I have some more shells with holes to add. And this one, my little oyster thing. And these are the texture paste ones. I also went and put some microglaze, Tim Holtz microglaze. It just sort of gives it a little bit of shine. It's like putting conditioner on it. It just makes it feel really silky and nice. So there's these, put a bunch of stuff there. This one you could really tell when I put the microglaze on. It just really made the colors look more rich, not so flat. This one, I don't know, I think I added the string. This one I left the heart on. Here I just thought, leave it. Drop in the ocean. I feel like this needs something else down here. And then here. I didn't really do anything to this guy yet. I kind of go through over and over and over, and I add a layer every time. This one, let's see here. Nothing is really different. This is kind of one of those things that you need to feel it, and but it feels nice with that stuff on it. This is one of my favorite ones. I love this one. And I made quite a few with the boats because I really like them. And then that one, I went over this with the microglaze. Pretty much everything that was my focal point, I went over. Now moving on to my new ones. Got this one, I added more string, got the texture paste. There's lots going on here. This is a fun one. And these just feel cool. You know, all those layers, and then it has the Mod Podge on, so it, you know, it has that bendable feeling. Another one. And then this image I had here, and it has embossing powder on, and I thought, let me just make that one a pocket, and I'll put the quote as a little tuck. So these guys are the ones I'll probably go through. Like this one, I'll probably add some waves with some ribbon, but I just wanted to show you for now because this is going to end up being a super long video. Well, maybe. So that is it. Oh, and for my toppers here, I just took some sari silk with some fuzzy ribbon, fuzzy yarn, and I braided it together, and then I just kind of quick, messy, ran it through my sewing machine. So here are all the fun tags. So thank you so much for watching, and come and join me in Junk Journal Divas. Well, I'm making these for journals, but also my July, I call them Diva Delights in Junk Journal Divas. So come on over and join me. Also, all of the links for all the products I used, I will add everything in the video description as always. Thanks for watching.